night is all about.
Here we go.
And see, well, it's time to make that change. Apostle, this is this. The beauty of a baby.
It's like we keep giving message after message. We're doing vision, and it's like somebody has the attention of our children.
When I was incarcerated at Shakopee, the stunning differences between the men's visiting rooms and how they're treated as parents and what I was permitted as a parent in Shakopee was so offensive to me. My husband is an important parent, but he is treated like he's nothing more than a friend and has no more privileges. It's not right.
It's not right. And you know, Marquise Rollins, who's imprisoned here at Lionel Lakes, is a very good parent. I sent you all pictures of him in my press release of him and his wife. Very loving parents. He's very interactive. So the kids have already gone through the shock of separation from the home. Then they were kind of getting acclimated into, okay, he's here. We really don't understand it because nobody is over age 6 years old. They're 6, 3, and 1.
So the warden, how did he justify this policy?
Simply by saying the policy was broken. And so did the Minnesota Ombuds of Corrections. They just said, hey, this policy was broken. We're not arguing whether or not it was broken. We're arguing understanding. Even in the court of law, he cannot be held responsible for his actions until he's 7. Jesus Christ, we never heard about him until he turned 7. We heard about his birth. We did not hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. It was age 7. 7 is kind of a universal number to ask kids to be totally responsible. In our public school systems here, there's no suspension of K through 3. That's about age 7. Why is our prison any different? Why are they vilifying our children? I want that to stop. And we want to amend the policy because it's actually a good policy. If you read it, it's stable. It's a good policy. It just does not apply to children.
Loved one that's been incarcerated since 2018, and I have brought my young child to visit her loved one since she was an infant, and the expectations they have for kids is just ridiculous. There's no form of entertainment for them. There's no coloring books. There's no reading material. There's nothing. They're just expected to sit in this chair, and currently my commute to go and visit him is almost 2 hours. So she sits in a car for 2 hours, and then she's expected to sit in a chair for, hopefully up to 2 hours with nothing. And it's just unreasonable. So I'm here supporting her and her loved ones and her family, and I hope that there's some sort of understanding and some sort of conclusion to this that is both beneficial for the young person, but also the loved ones that are supporting them.
Yeah. I agree with everything that Jerry has said here. And again, I am really upset at the difference in treatment between the fathers and the mothers. Shakopee prison visiting has toys, coloring books, puzzles, games, little child-sized tables and little child-sized chairs next to the adult chairs so they can even have their own, child-sized furniture. It's very child-friendly. In fact, at Shakopee prison, I don't know if they still have this, but for the 8 years that I was there, children could come into the prison on certain weekends and spend the day with their mom in the gymnasium and having holiday parties and cakes that wasn't even in the visiting room. And so the fact that I have never heard of the men having any of those things. In fact, for a long time, children could sleep overnight at Shakopee prison on the weekends in their mom's room. Have you heard of such? And Shakopee is a minimum to a supermax facility. It includes all levels of security. And so for that not to be allowed for a men's prison of any security level is shocking to me.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that point up about Shakopee covering all levels. It's our only female prison in the state.
Yes.
So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to mention that point.
Yep.
Our children are important for whatever the reason the person is imprisoned, the children are important.
Yes.
And that's respected there. It is not respected in our men's prisons. I'm finding that highly, highly discriminatory against the male race of our state. And I wonder how many other states this affects, which is probably all 50.
I don't know.
Why not? And then so we'll be sending this footage to the United States Department of Justice, as well as to the UN. This is a human problem that we're having, because we have babies in our nation, and they want to see their family. Julius, come over here. I know you're cold, but tell me something. Do you want to see Uncle Marquise? Are you gonna play? Yes? Are you gonna jump? That's because I told him if you jump, you can't see him. Are you gonna cry? No, well, you're a big boy. But when his cousins, who are babies and teething and just learning how to walk and talk, they cry.
Yep.
Officer Motel told them, you have 5 minutes to make the baby stop crying. I want to meet the person who can make a baby stop crying. I want to know that formula so I can bottle and sell it. That doesn't happen. Officer Motel was asking Mr. and Mrs. Rollins an impossible thing, and he knew it was going to be failure. And not only did he not write them up, he waited until the 11th visit to finally write them up and culminate it into one report. 10-minute break. Maybe the child needs changing. Maybe the child needs a timeout. We use in schools. We have comforting areas, and the thing that's happening in Shakopee is how it should be done.
Right.
And the women,
They're
it's discrimination against women.
A meaningful and vital relationship in my life.
My husband is incarcerated, and he has served at, I've been to Stillwater visiting, in the Faribault visiting room.
For 1 month. All of the 11 visits that she did and all of the 11 violations happened within 1 month. That's a problem. That's a problem. So what we want our Commissioner Snell to do today is to hear us. We want him to hear us, that we want policy 302.100 amended. And I'm going to take a step back and pull up the amended proposal, as we have 2 other speakers coming, for sure, maybe 3. Maurice Ward of Jive, Justice Impacted Individuals Voting Effectively, got something to say.
The reason I'm speaking is because I'm giving a different dynamic to what's been going on in the prison system. I just think it's systematic and institutionalized for them to remove the child from the father, specifically because he's an integral part of the family. The child not knowing the father is huge, because once that momentum starts up, it's difficult to get it back, right? A child not knowing who you are, not respecting you, not seeing you, or you not making that social connection with the child. You know, it's difficult for you to, internalize or even feel a certain way, because all that stuff starts at birth, right? That birth, the connection, the loving, the caring. A little bit different than moms. Fathers, I needed to hold my child. I needed to change the pamper. I needed to feed them. I needed to embrace them. So I did some time, and I didn't come to Lino, but I did Faribault, did Oak Park Hikes, I did Stillwater, did St. Cloud, and visiting. I always questioned why visiting was so different from us. There was always rumors that the females' prisons had so many different visiting rights that we didn't have. But again, it's systematic, it's institutionalized, it's based on these individuals wanting a certain outcome, because it's easy to stay as still. There's not even an option for me to be, to have that as a privilege. I can never get up to a point where I can have my child for more than the allotted time they give them to me. It's not a privilege. I can't go to the birth of my child. I can't do any of these things that would socialize me back into my family. So the biggest thing when I asked Paul Snell, all these government officials, it's like, you're great at breaking up the family, so what are you doing to reinvest in the family instead of all these words that you're utilizing? Because right now we know you're not doing it. And again, at the end of the day, you want to talk about recidivism, you want to talk about individuals going back to prison, and you want to talk about your stewards and you're trying to get these individuals back. Here's an opportunity for you to show that, not just in words, but in action. Because like I said, I know that there's no part of me that did not want to be with my child or experience being with my child as a father. So who gives them the right to make that choice? And not even like put it on the table. You give me everything else in this facility except the right to be with my family. Everything else, and when it comes down to that, you attempt to make those situations difficult for me. I sat on a phone call with the DOC and with the ombudsman, which she's doing a horrible job. And you sit there and you want to talk about video games. You want to bring that up as a conversation. Like, what grown man in his mind would be concerned about video games when he can have a relationship with his child? Take those damn video games out of there and open up those spaces for us to be with our children. And forget the video games. I think that, you know what I'm saying? The only ones that's gonna have an issue with that is those individuals who don't understand what the value is of being a father. And I think that once we establish the fact, and once we remove this connection between these institutions trying to raise our children, and we get back to moving ourselves back into being able to raise our children and remove the state. What I'm saying, get them out of our business and allow us to govern our relationships back into our families. I think more individuals would take that, they would do it, and you would see a different look to our families as we come out. So the main thing I want you to get you to understand, for you individuals who do not understand visitation looks different between men and women. It's discriminatory, and it's discriminatory to the fact that it's purposeful, and they know what they're doing. And the fact of the matter is, for an individual to lose his visiting privilege, or for the fact that my child does not come directly to me, they go to the toys. You're trying to systematize and program my child to be something other than a child, which is ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to speak a little bit about, as he discussed, it's a men and women thing, but there's also not uniformity that makes sense within the different prisons. So since COVID, happened and the visiting room changed, now they've gone back. Shakopee the chairs are as close as they ever were before COVID. And Stillwater, which is a maximum security facility, their chairs have even gone back to pretty close to normal. They don't have the welcoming toy area that Shakopee has, but they do have that. And at least at Stillwater, like Shakopee, you're allowed to put your arm around each other and have normal pictures, which are really important. And they're how you remember this forever. Your children, your family, when you go home, those pictures help the child remember that parent until the next visit. And if that's very awkward, and Faribault Prison currently has the rule that during visits and a picture, nobody can touch each other, and there must be visible distance between, and both people have to stand straight ahead. It's like an 1880s Wild West photo. Everybody stare at the camera, straight stiff and face forward.
You got a question?
What's the premise behind
And mad love and support. Mad love and support. We're here for him. We're here for the children. We're going to amend policy number 302.100.
Yes, we are.
Give those kids that 15-minute break they may need, and just be a normal society who love our children in Minnesota and in our country. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon.
Can I get y'all saying I am John?
Okay.
Yes, I am John.
I am John.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Tell us one. I am John.
I am John.
Chef 3761. Safety Through Support Act. What is that about?
So this is allowing additional visitors into the prison. There is a rule right now that if you are a volunteer, you cannot be on anybody's visiting list as an individual visitor. So you have to choose one or the other when you care about. And when I left prison, I really wanted to be involved sometime in the future. in supporting the women that I left with programming or something like that, but I had to choose. I can either visit 2 people, be on 2 different visiting lists, or I can be a volunteer and go into the prison and participate in faith-based programming or church services or things like that. And since my husband is incarcerated, that was not a choice for me. I'm not gonna not visit him so that I can, provide programming as a whole. And I think a lot of people make that choice. And so this allows professionals like therapists, counselors, and lawyers to visit a large number of people and anyone else that the commissioner or a committee deems acceptable as a supportive person, so that inmates can have more access. In fact, there are some, when I was in Shakopee, there were women who had been there 20, 30 years and never had a visit. Their family, they were either from out of state or their family was. This gives an opportunity for them to have visitors, not just in programming, but one-on-one.
Awesome. I want to just bring you up too, Jerry, and I want David Banky. You're here and been very supportive and instrumental to this press conference and other things with prison reform. Can you come up and say a few words or something? Yeah.
Or someone else can say that.
Maybe Mr. Ward can do it because I want to kind of stand with you a little bit.
Yeah, so I would just to speak to the data of this, we know that 40% of people never get a visit in the DOC in their entire term of incarceration. And we need to be, the DOC needs to be encouraging visits, not reducing visits. They need to be using their power to connect families and to create safety in communities, not break them up and create negative outcomes. And so it's really sad to see them use their power the way they use it, and it's really important that changes. We even see the DOC preventing lawyers who have a legal right to set up legal calls from legal calls by saying that, oh, you don't yet have an active case, so you don't have a right to talk to a person. Well, how are you going to get an active case if you can't talk to a person? You know what I mean? And so if we see the DOC stepping on lawyers, and then we see the DOC stepping on families, you know what I mean? This is a problem. And this is the most progressive administration we've had in probably 30 years. And this is where we're at. So we can do better. And it's really important that we do better. And it's really important that we support people like Miss Sharon when things happen so they change their practice. And it's also really important that we pass new laws so that people get the support that they need.
Absolutely. And you want to just mention IWOC?
Sure.
The wonderful work that you all are doing?
Sure, yeah. A number of people are part of a group called the Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee. We're people in prison and we're people in the community working across the wall to change the system. We've actually safely shrunk the prison system by 10% in the last 5 years in Minnesota, and there's a lot more to go. I think we've seen, and people who deal with prison all the time know that the prison system is not designed to keep us safer. In fact, so much of it makes us less safe. And that there's a huge opportunity to dramatically reduce the prison population and dramatically increase safety in our state. And so I think we can do both of those things, and excited to do that with everyone who wants to do that.
Awesome. And I want to hear from Apostle Anata, who's introducing God back into our schools, or even into our conversation. Certainly it belongs here at the correctional facilities, as David mentioned, that the humaneness has gone out of policy making. As the school board director myself, in a district in our state, I'm seeing a lot of calamity happening in our schools. And since having a person in prison is now one of the ACERs, on the ACERs list, is not being addressed. Piece of Hope is submitting proposals for our schools to offer the children some support when things like this happen, when they're barred from visiting their loved ones who are in prison, and then go to the schools and we expect them to behave normally. That's another recipe for failure. So Apostle Nata, if you want to come and say a few words about what you're doing to help alleviate this situation.
As a City of God Kingdom Ministries Network, which is our ministry, we are working to bring the message of love. Love is leaving out violence everywhere. When you spell out the word love, L-O-V-E, it says leaving out violence everywhere. So violence is not always a physical. It can be mental. It can be emotional. It can be spiritual. Violence is a destructive mechanism to destroy. What I've heard today is a strategy of destruction. When a person commits a crime, it don't mean that they are a villain. It means that they made a bad decision. Now, if anybody on the planet that have not made a bad decision, then you should be the first one to say, okay, how can I help you not to make a bad decision? Because I made all the right decisions. I never made a bad one. So therefore, love says we all make bad decisions. So we're going to cover your bad decision. And we're going to help you make the right decisions. So when we come into the schools, we're saying we have a campaign called Love Your Neighbor. And the children is working on spreading that campaign. Why the children? Because the children are our future. So if they grow up with a mindset of love, leaving out violence everywhere, in the home, in the school, in the government, in the neighborhood, in the community, if I leave that violence out, what's left? Love. Help somebody. So the children are learning how to differentiate between love and lust. Love is giving at the expense of self. Lust is getting at the expense of others. So if our government is working to love, they're going to be looking to give more opportunity for the children to meet with their parents. And that brings healing. That brings a mindset of, if this is where I'm at right now, and I can't see my children every day, but when I come and see them, when they come and see me, and I can bridge that gap, how much more would it draw them to want to make better choices, better decisions, and then to keep that relationship bonding. And then all the time, it's not always actually the actual situation that the person did. Our system, being in its corrupt ways, will penalize people for something they didn't even do. And then they got to go through a corrupt system that ain't even all the way right all the time and penalize them for something that they didn't do. There are people that spent 10, 20, 50, 30 years in prison and did not even do the crime. So we dealing with a multiple of things that's happening with the children, with the fathers. And so love says, let's work together. And together, you got a strategy, you got a strategy, you got an idea, and we put all these ideas together on the table, and then we come up with a better plan. Because the plan says, I see things this way that can help it. Well, I got an idea that can help it make it even better. And so all those ideas are what brings about a message of love, leaving out violence everywhere. And so that's our message to the community. When we walk in love, we walk in forgiveness. Forgiveness means I don't spread that situation. I don't keep bringing it up. I don't keep making it noted, okay? Why? Because when people are forgiven, that gives them space to heal. And when people heal, they don't go out and hurt again, because a hurting person hurt people. A healed person brings healing. As you heard these mothers here sharing, they're sharing, they want to go back and help because their lives been healed. So they see the effects of it. And so now they want to go and be an asset to it. Why? Because they see how much of a blessing it is. So our message in the school, we're doing a prayer at the state capitol. And the prayer at the state capitol is to say that we need our children, we need the teachers, we need the principals, all back praying in the schools. And we're going to be doing that on April 1st at the state capitol in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Thank you. Thank you so much for breaking that down. We're going to, all of us get up here and just gather together and take a group photo. I'm holding our logo as we gather together, Jive and Jerry and Holly and David and And all of you watching, Julius, would you mind to come up here? I'm holding the Peace of Hope logo.
Maurice, you should come up here if you
Yep.
can.
This
And
is no
Apostle.
mistake that we created our logo this way. In the background, there's a man incarcerated, or it could be a female. And there's a woman visiting with 2 small children. This logo was created years ago, and I never thought that we would be faced with having it questioned because of the children who are being vilified, and she won't be able to bring those kids. So I want to bring some highlight to that too. So Peace of Hope, we're here for families of the imprisoned and the reentry of those who are leaving prisons. You can reach us at 651-391-8007. You got the photo? I was talking.
You got all the photos.
I was talking though.
That's good. It looks better than it's action
Oh,
shot.
no.
This is a newspaper.
Come on, Maurice, to work. I'm gonna shut up.
Can you take a photo with my phone here?
Okay.
Just the big white button in
Are
the
we still filming?
center there.
Yeah.
And it's,
Okay.
That's what editing's for. It's good. Yeah, see?
Right here. 1, 2, 3.
I want to take a moment to say happy birthday to Marquise Rollins. His sons and daughter to him on April the 2nd. His children won't be able to come, but I want to take a moment to say happy birthday to him, and mad love and support. Mad love and support. We're here for him. We're here for the children. We're going to amend policy number 302.100.
Yes, we are.
Give those kids that 15-minute break they may need, and just be a normal society who love our children in Minnesota and in our country.
Thank you, Sharon, for
See,
now you ready.
My name's Mauricio Ward.
Now you're like, that's not
Job
scary.
is justice
We can do this all
impacted
day.
individuals voting effectively. The reason that we're in existence is to uplift those individuals as they make their way out. And what that means a lot of individuals want to get themselves out, but when we get out, we face a long list of discrimination. Discrimination specifically because we had a felony, which makes no sense. When you went to prison, you got charged, you were convicted, you did all this time and all this programming, but to get out, to find out that you still have to deal with discriminatory practices. So JIVE was put in place after the restorative vote was initiated and we're given the right to vote. We decided to galvanize that vote by getting individuals like ourselves together. We also are working on making JIVE, Just Impacted Individual, a caucus through the DFL. The reason we're pushing Justice Impacted Individuals as vernacular conversation and pushing it into the lexicon of this country is because I know being called an offender, being called a convict, being called an inmate is derogatory. You wouldn't go around and call people outside their names. It's certain individuals who have you can't discriminate against them. You can't hate against them. But yet still it's fair for us. So we need to change the top. We need to change that way that looks. We need to change when I come in and talk to my PO, they're not calling me an offender. They're calling me a justice. They're realizing, they're recognizing the systematic problems we've had through the 90s when they were locking us up for just being black. You know, they were giving us more time. So we need to, we've been impacted by the judicial system negatively, and we need them to recognize that and understand that we need to start working toward bringing these gentlemen in, replanting them, and giving them opportunities to be successful. And that's what it turns out. That is what it is, and it's not hard. It's just like, again, it's institutionalized and systematic for it to be a certain type of way. Just like we were talking about visitation. Why is it so different for males than it is for females? When this country pushes everything's the same and uniformity and, binary, I use he, she pronouns, but yet still you're not to the point where you want to extend those visiting rights over to males like you have with females, and nobody's advocating for it. It's systematic, So that's that. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.